Welcome back to the deep dive. We are heading back into the really chaotic, chemical-soaked world of Albuquerque today. And honestly, I hope your nerves are steadier than mine right now, because we are tackling what might be, well, the single most stressful hour of television I've ever watched.
Wow, that is a really high bar, especially considering the show we are actually talking about here.
It is, yeah, but I fully stand by it. I mean, we are looking at Breaking Bad, Season 4, Episode 12, and just the title alone gives you the chills, right? End times.
End times. It sounds completely biblical, doesn't it? Like the Book of Revelation is just coming straight to the New Mexico suburbs.
Exactly. And for the characters involved in this, it really does feel like the literal apocalypse has arrived. I mean, the sky is falling, the walls are closing in, and there is just nowhere left to run. So we have a massive stack of notes here today.
Oh yeah, a ton of material to get through.
Right. Production details, plot summaries, critical reception history, deep psychological profiles of the characters. And our mission today for this deep dive is to basically decode how this specific episode serves as the absolute psychological breaking point for the series' main players.
Right, because it really sets the stage for shifting alliances and, well, the grand finale of this season. It is the penultimate episode.
Yeah, second to last.
Context is just everything here. The sort of Cold War between Walter White and Gus Fring has been simmering for 12 straight episodes. It's been this entire season of, slow burn tension, box cutters, very silent threats. But here, this is where the Cold War goes hot.
It really is the checkmate moment, or, well, at least the attempt at one. The chess match is reaching its absolute peak and caught directly in the crossfire of all this.
As Jesse Pinkman.
Exactly. And honestly, just thinking back to when this originally aired, which was October 2nd, 2011, the landscape of TV was just different. Breaking Bad wasn't quite the absolute global juggernaut that it became in Season 5 yet.
But the buzz was getting there.
Oh, the buzz around this specific run of episodes was deafening. I was so excited to talk about this today because of the pure tension of it all. The waiting game of this episode is just masterful.
It truly is a masterclass in psychological manipulation and visual storytelling. And actually, there is a fascinating production detail right up front. This is the only episode of the entire series that creator Vince Gilligan directed but did not write himself.
Which is so interesting, right? Because normally a showrunner saves their directing energy for their own scripts, like a pilot or a finale.
Right, exactly. The script for End Times came from Moira Walley-Beckett and Thomas Schnaus, who are two of the heavy hitters in that writer's room. But Gilligan's stepping behind the camera here. It really signals importance. It means he wanted to ensure the visual language was just absolutely precise.
Because it relies so heavily on those visuals.
Yeah. The silence, the framing, the specific geography of the spaces they are in. I think he wanted to control every single frame to establish the definitive look of the show's climax.
Well, let's unpack all of this, because we are going to go segment by segment here.
Right.
There's just way too much detail in our source material to skip around. So segment 1, the siege.
Right. Paranoia and protection. We open in total chaos. The catalyst is instantaneous. The DEA has received an anonymous tip claiming that Hank Schrader is a target of the cartel.
Which, as the audience knows, is actually a tip from Saul Goodman, acting directly on Walt's instructions.
Correct. It is a highly strategic move by Walt to clear the board, essentially. And the DEA's reaction to this tip is what I just love. It is immediate and it is overwhelming. They do not take chances with one of their own.
No, they swarm the Schrader house.
They absolutely swarm it. It transforms instantly from this quiet suburban home into a literal fortress.
It's so intense. I mean, you have DEA agents with assault rifles posted on the front lawn, armored SUVs are parked in the driveway. And because, family is family, the white Skylar, Walter Jr., and baby Holly, they're all moved into the Schrader house for protection too.
Which creates this incredible pressure cooker environment indoors. It is so claustrophobic. You have Marie just freaking out, understandably. Hank is trying to maintain this alpha male status while being completely bedridden, and Skylar is just terrified.
It's that classic dramatic technique, right? Trap all your characters in one room and just see what happens.
Exactly, except for one person, Walter White.
Right. And this is where our character study of Walt gets really fascinating, where the episode gets very interesting visually. We keep cutting between the Schrader house, which is loud and crowded and safe, to the White House.
Which is just empty, it's dark, it's totally silent. Walt decides to stay behind. He actively refuses the DEA protection while his family flees to safety.
Let's analyze that decision for a second. He is just sitting in his living room. He's got that little snub-nosed .38 pistol in his lap. He's just sitting there, armed, waiting for the consequences. So the big discussion point here from the notes is this bravery? Is he making some sort of heroic last stand? Or is he just completely resigning himself?
It is a really complex mix, but looking at the psychology here, I lean heavily towards resignation. There is a crucial scene right before this, the famous spinning gun scene out in his backyard.
Oh, man, yes. Almost forgot about that.
Right. He spins the gun on the patio table, and it points directly at him. So he spins it again, it points at him again, he spins it a third time, and it points away at a potted plant. And he just stares at it.
Which feels like massive foreshadowing now that we know the whole story.
Oh, completely. But the immediate point of that scene is that he is leaving his life up to fate. It's Russian roulette without pulling a trigger. By staying in the house, he is effectively waiting for Gus to make a move. He's waiting for the executioner.
Because he knows he's cornered.
He knows Gus has the resources to find him anywhere. Running is pointless. So instead of running and dying tired, he just sits in his armchair and waits for the knock on the door.
It is chilling, truly. It is almost like he is inviting the confrontation because the agonizing anxiety of the waiting game is actually worse than the death itself.
Precisely. Visually, Gilligan shoots Walt looking so small in the frame. He is just swallowed up by the darkness and the shadows of his own home. He does not look like the great Heisenberg here at all. He just looks like a man who lost the game.
Meanwhile, back at the fortress, Hank Schrader is proving exactly why he is the best investigator on the show. Even while he is bedridden, supposedly the victim in need of protection, his brain is just working in overdrive.
Hank is a shark. He literally cannot stop moving forward. He does his own deduction and realizes that this threat against his life isn't random. He knows it is linked directly to his ongoing investigation of Gus Fring.
He knows he kicked the hornet's nest.
Exactly. So he sends his partner, Stephen Gomez, to go check out the industrial laundromat, the Lavanderia Brillante.
Which gives us one of the most technically perfect suspense sequences in the show's entire history, the laundry investigation. Walk us through why this works so incredibly well.
Okay, so you have Gomez and a team of officers sweeping the laundry facility floor, and crucially, they bring a drug-sniffing dog with them.
A serious-looking German Shepherd.
Right. And directly beneath their feet, down in the superlab, you have Jesse and Tyrus. They are completely trapped.
It is a matter of inches. Just one layer of concrete separating the law from the criminals.
This whole setup is a textbook application of Alfred Hitchcock's bomb theory.
Oh, break that down for us. That is a great connection.
So Hitchcock famously explained the difference between surprise and suspense in filmmaking. If you have two people just sitting at a table talking and a bomb suddenly goes off, that is surprise. The audience gets maybe 15 seconds of shock.
Right, a jump scare, baby.
Exactly. But if you show the audience the bomb ticking under the table first, and then you show the people talking and ignoring it, the audience is gripping their seats, internally screaming, "Don't just sit there," for 10 straight minutes. That is suspense.
And in this laundry scene, the bomb is Jesse and Tyrus.
Yes. We, the audience, know they're downstairs. We know the dog is upstairs sniffing around. Every single footstep Gomez takes, every time that dog sniffs near a vent, our heart rate just spikes. We're just agonizingly waiting for the inevitable discovery.
There is that one moment where the dog actually barks at the massive washing machine that conceals the secret entrance. I remember thinking, well, this is it. Game over.
And Tyrus, who is just cold as ice, has his gun drawn and aimed directly at the ceiling. He is fully prepared to shoot a cop right through the floor if that door mechanism starts to open.
But then Gomez finds nothing. The photos he takes of the lab area just show normal laundry equipment.
It is the narrative technique of the near miss. It serves to ratchet up the tension to an unbearable degree without actually altering the status quo of the plot. But psychologically, it does something profound to Jesse.
What's that?
It completely reinforces his entrapment. He is literally buried underground. He cannot leave. He is at the absolute mercy of Gus, of Tyrus, and now of the police who are actively hunting him from above. He is completely and utterly cornered.
Which transitions us perfectly into segment 2, the fracture. Because all of this pressure on Jesse is about to break him.
Right after Gomez leaves, the phone rings down in the lab, and it's Gus.
And Gus is just in full manipulation mode on this call. He doesn't scream or yell. He is incredibly calm.
That is exactly what makes Gus so terrifying. He calmly tells Jesse that all this police heat, the DEA sniffing around, is entirely Walter's fault. He frames Walter as the sole liability, the cancer that is drawing all this unwanted attention to their operation.
And then he drops the hammer, the ultimatum. Gus claims that Walter must be killed in order to protect the business.
But he's doing it delicately. He's trying to get Jesse's permission. Gus needs Jesse to sign off on the hit so that Jesse will remain compliant and keep cooking the meth.
But Jesse, surprisingly, given everything that has happened, says no. He refuses to cook if Walter is killed.
It is his line in the sand. Despite the beatings, the insults, the fact that Walt has been, quite frankly, awful to him all season long, Jesse says, "You kill Mr. White, you kill me."
I find this so fascinating. Why does he hold this line of defense for Walt? I mean, seriously, why does he still defend him at this point? It almost feels like battered person syndrome.
It absolutely is a toxic, abusive relationship. But you have to remember Jesse's core character trait, loyalty. He's so desperate for a father figure, and Walt is the devil he knows. And on a much deeper level, Jesse is really the moral center of the show. He does not want people to die. He cannot stomach the idea of an execution, even the execution of someone he currently hates.
So Jesse holds the line. But that fierce loyalty is about to be severely tested by none other than Saul Goodman.
Enter the comic relief, right. Except he brings absolutely nothing but bad news here. Saul meets Jesse secretly to give him his share of the profits. The money drop.
Saul is looking really rough in this scene. He is frantic. He is fleeing.
Saul is the canary in the coal mine for this show. When Saul Goodman is genuinely scared, you should be terrified. He tells Jesse he is skipping town. He plans to leave Albuquerque and just check out until this whole feud ends.
But before he goes, he drops a massive bombshell on Jesse. A very specific piece of information that fundamentally shifts everything.
He tells Jesse about the desert trip. He reveals that Gus took Walt out to the desert, put a hood over his head, and threatened to murder his entire family.
Including the infant daughter.
Yes. Now, we have to analyze this. Why does Saul share this specific detail? Is it just a slip of the tongue because he's panicked?
Absolutely not. Saul is way too calculated for that. This is a deliberate move. Because remember, Saul works for Walt. Walt desperately needs Jesse to turn against Gus. And the only way to achieve that is to make Gus look like an absolute monster in Jesse's eyes.
Exactly. So by revealing that Gus explicitly threatened a baby,
it totally shatters Jesse's current perspective on Gus. Up until now, Gus was the strict but reasonable businessman to Jesse. He was hard, yes, but professional. But threatening to murder an infant, that completely changes the paradigm. It puts Gus in the exact same category as Tuco or the worst of the cartel. It makes him a child killer.
And we know exactly how Jesse feels about kids.
It is his absolute berserk button. Anything involving children overrides all his logic and self-preservation.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the most heartbreaking sequence of the episode. Segment 3, The Turning Point, the ricin and the hospital.
Jesse receives a phone call from Andrea Cantillo. Her son, Brock, the kid Jesse has been bonding with, playing video games with all season, he is in the hospital with a mysterious, incredibly serious illness.
Violent flu-like symptoms.
Right.
And Jesse just rushes straight to the hospital. While he is there, he is standing outside for a smoke break to try and calm his shattered nerves. And he reaches into his pocket for his cigarettes.
And this is just a brilliant piece of acting from Aaron Paul. The realization on his face.
He looks at the pack, he taps it, he looks inside, and he notices that one very specific cigarette is missing.
The ricin cigarette. The weapon he and Walt made way back to use on Gus. The one with the tiny glass vial of deadly poison hidden inside.
Right, and in that exact moment, Jesse's brain connects two completely disparate facts. My deadly poison is missing, and this young kid is suddenly dying of a mysterious illness.
It is a huge leap of logic, isn't it?
It is a massive leap, but it really speaks to the extreme level of paranoia that Jesse is living in day to day. He assumes the worst possible scenario because his entire life has become a literal horror movie.
He connects the dots. Yeah. He believes Brock has ingested the ricin, so he runs back inside, tells Andrea frantically to have the doctors check specifically for ricin poisoning, and then he just storms out.
Because he thinks he knows exactly who did it.
He concludes it was Walter White. He believes Walt poisoned Brock to get back at Jesse.
In Jesse's mind, only two people on Earth knew about that specific cigarette. Him and Walt. And Walt has been badgering him relentlessly to use it on Gus. Walt has been furious with him. So to Jesse, this is Walt's ultimate revenge. And this realization is really the emotional climax of the season. Jesse is driven here not by the meth trade, not by cartel politics, but purely by the harm done to an innocent child.
Which rockets us right into segment 4, the living room standout, a performance for the ages.
This is the scene. If you are studying acting, writing, or directing, you just put this entire confrontation on loop.
It is the specific scene that won Aaron Paul his Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, and rightfully so. Let's set the stage for our listeners. Jesse drives to the White household. He kicks the door in. He breaks in.
And Walt is there, still sitting in that armchair, still waiting for Gus's assassins to show up. But instead of cartel hitmen, he gets Jesse Pinkman basically foaming at the mouth with pure rage.
Jesse throws his own gun away, tackles Walt to the ground, and then picks up Walt's own gun, that snub-nosed .38 we analyzed earlier.
The visual symbolism there is so potent. The weapon Walt bought to protect his own life is now pressed directly against his own forehead by his former partner.
The acting here is unbelievable. Aaron Paul is physically shaking. He is vibrating with adrenaline and grief. He's screaming, "You did it. You poisoned him."
And look at Bryan Cranston's performance. It is equally brilliant, but in the exact opposite direction. He is completely frozen. He is terrified. You can see his eyes darting as he tries to process what is actually happening.
So, Jesse has the gun leveled at Walt's head. He is literally seconds away from pulling the trigger. The ultimate question is, how on earth does Walt talk his way out of this? He is paranoid and cornered.
This is where we see Walt's true superpower. It is a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Walt manages to spin the narrative using a technique that psychologists often call DARVIO: deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender.
Okay, walk us through how he applies that here. What does he do first?
First, he denies it completely. I didn't do this. I have no idea what you were talking about. He plays completely dumb to the accusation.
Right, feigning ignorance.
Then, when Jesse explains the missing ricin, Walt pivots to the attack phase. He constructs a very plausible counter-narrative. He says, "Think, Jesse, who else knew about the cigarette?" He starts casting doubt on Jesse's leap of logic.
He uses the surveillance state of the superlab against Jesse.
Exactly. He suggests that Tyrus must have lifted the cigarette from Jesse's locker at the lab. He says Gus has cameras everywhere. They saw the cigarette, Tyrus removed it from the locker, and they tracked Brock down.
And then comes the reversal part of the strategy. Reversing the victim and the offender.
Yes. Walt argues that he is actually the victim of this elaborate plot. He says, "Gus planned this to frame me. He did this to you to manipulate you into coming here and killing me." He frames Gus as the evil puppet master and himself as the helpless target.
It is such a seductive piece of logic because it perfectly fits Gus's profile as a master strategist.
But Jesse isn't fully buying it yet. He still has the gun raised. He's screaming, "Why would Gus poison a kid?"
And this is where Walt plays the absolute trump card. The one specific piece of history he knows will break Jesse's resolve.
He reminds Jesse of the death of Tomas Cantillo,
Andrea's younger brother. The kid who was used by Gus's dealers on the corner and then murdered back in season 3.
Walt screams at him, "Gus is not above killing children. He has done it before."
Oof. That line hits like a physical blow. You can feel the air leave the room.
It is the absolute checkmate move, because it is an undeniable truth. Jesse knows for a fact that Gus allowed Tomas to die. By connecting Brock's poisoning to Tomas's murder, Walt completely bypasses Jesse's analytical logic and hits his deepest trauma directly.
And that is the exact moment you see the shift. You see the weapons start to lower.
You see the profound doubt creep into Jesse's eyes, and Walt, reading the room perfectly, realizes he has an opening, so he physically stands up. He takes the barrel of the gun and presses it firmly to his own forehead.
That moment is so crazy. He just says, "Do it." If you honestly think I am capable of this, then put a bullet in my head right now.
It is the ultimate gamble. Walt is betting his entire life on his ability to lie convincingly. And because he commits to the lie so entirely, Jesse decides he is innocent.
It is terrifying because, as we watch it, even the audience almost believes him. Walt is so incredibly convincing in his own defense.
That is the truly scary part of Walt's character.
Yeah.
He believes his own narrative in the moment he's saying it. He takes his genuine paralyzing fear of Gus Fring and channels it into the performance of a lifetime.
So Jesse lowers the weapon completely. He breaks down crying. And he actually apologizes to Walt.
The sheer manipulation involved here is staggering. Whether the story he spun is true or false, Walt's ability to talk his way out of a loaded gun pointed at his face is remarkable. And just like that, the fracture between them is healed.
The two enemies reunite with a single, unified purpose: kill Gus Fring.
They are bonded again by a shared trauma and a common enemy. And this leads us directly into the massive climax of the episode, segment 5, the failed assassination.
Right, so they form a plan. And the plan is relatively simple, but incredibly risky. Jesse returns to the hospital. He refuses to leave Andrea and Brock's side.
This is a tactical move. He creates a complete stalemate. He tells Tyrus that he is not going to cook any meth until he knows the kid is going to pull through.
Which completely disrupts the business and forces Gus's hand.
Exactly. A lack of a cook is unacceptable. Jesse tells Tyrus that if Gus wants him to leave that hospital, Gus has to come in person to convince him.
It is a trap, a lure to get Gus out in the open.
And while Jesse's playing bait, Walt is going full MacGyver in his kitchen.
I really love this sequence. We see Walt just frantically breaking open these instant cold packs, mixing the chemicals together. It feels so much like season 1 again.
It really does. It is a total return to his roots. He is not the powerful drug kingpin here. He is just a desperate, brilliant chemist fighting for his life. He is using the ammonium nitrate from the cold packs to construct a homemade pipe bomb.
He takes that bomb and he sneaks into the hospital parking garage. He plants it directly under Gus's car, his Volvo, and then he retreats to a nearby rooftop to wait.
Which is an amazing visual callback to the ongoing surveillance themes of the show. Walt waiting up there, looking through the binoculars.
It is such an iconic image. The wind blowing his jacket, his finger hovering right over a remote detonator. He looks almost like a supervillain watching from above.
Meanwhile, the trap seems to be working perfectly. The climax builds as Gus actually visits the hospital. He goes inside and talks to Jesse, and he plays the role of the benevolent, understanding boss perfectly. He gives Jesse permission to take a week off.
He thinks he has completely smoothed things over. He thinks he's won. So he leaves the hospital and walks back out to the parking garage.
He is walking right toward the car. Walt is tense on the roof. I mean, the audience is screaming, press the button, press the button.
He gets so close. He is maybe 20 feet away from the rigged car, and then he stops.
The walk just stops. The ambient sound and music completely drop out.
Gus Fring just stands there. He looks at his car. He slowly turns and looks at the adjacent building where Walt is hiding on the roof. He scans the entire parking lot.
Why does he stop? This is one of the great debates of this entire episode. Did he see something concrete?
This is exactly what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Does he see a reflection? Is it the sixth sense? What is happening here?
Well, fans have debated this for over a decade. Some think he saw a glint of sunlight reflecting off Walt's glasses up on the roof. Some think he noticed something slightly off about the car itself.
What is your take on it, based on the character notes?
I don't think he saw anything specific at all. I think this is purely about instinct. Gus Fring has survived in the brutal world of the cartel for 20 years, not by being lucky, but by being hypervigilant.
So you think it's just a gut feeling?
It is subconscious pattern recognition. Think about it. Maybe the parking lot was just a little too quiet. Maybe the fact that Jesse was so fiercely insistent on him coming to the hospital in person suddenly felt like a setup in hindsight. His lizard brain just sent a signal that said something is wrong.
He senses that something is amiss.
Exactly. And the rule in Gus's world is simple. If something feels even slightly wrong, you do not investigate it. You just walk away. And he does not get in the car. He turns around and he slowly walks away to the edge of the garage.
And the camera cuts back to Walt on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
The total devastation of the missed opportunity on his face.
He had him. The plan was flawless. And he completely missed.
It is such a gut punch. Walt is left completely distraught up there. And from a narrative standpoint, it brilliantly reinforces Gus as this almost supernatural adversary.
He is hyper-vigilant and seemingly impossible to kill. You can't outsmart a guy who can just smell a trap without any physical evidence.
It leaves you with this incredible feeling of dread as the credits roll. But before we get to our final takeaways, let's talk about segment 6, the production and reception of End Times. We already touched on Vince Gilligan directing the script by Wally Beckett and Schnauz.
Right. But there are some really fascinating production constraints we need to highlight. They were incredibly short on time filming this.
Yeah, the notes revealed they actually had to cut a scene during filming.
They did. There was originally a fully scripted scene where Walt and Jesse sit down and actually formulate the mechanics of the plan to assassinate Gus. They would have discussed the bomb and the hospital lure in detail.
But they just cut it out completely.
They had to. They were filming this episode concurrently with the massive season finale, Face Off, purely to save time and meet the network deadlines. It was an absolute logistical crunch for the crew.
Honestly, looking at the finished product, I think the episode is actually stronger without that planning scene. Jumping straight from their tense handshake in the living room right to Lamvon, frantically building a bomb in his kitchen, creates so much more momentum.
I totally agree with that assessment. It makes the pacing relentless. And speaking of pacing, we have to mention the critical acclaim this episode received.
It was universally praised.
IGN gave it a 9 out of 10 review score. Major publications like GQ and Salon.com named it one of the absolute best television episodes of the year 2011.
And The Ringer recently ranked it 29th out of all 62 episodes of the series, which, might sound a bit low at first glance, but when you remember it is competing against monumental episodes like Ozymandias or Crawl Space, being in the top half is elite territory.
Definitely. And from an awards perspective, we have to mention Kelly Dixon's Emmy nomination for editing.
Oh, her work here is phenomenal.
Highlighting the pacing of those tense sequences, the agonizingly slow crawl of the laundry scene versus the rapid-fire cuts of the living room confrontation. The editing is what makes the suspense work.
It really is the ultimate setup episode that plays out with the stakes of a season finale. So let's bring it all home. Let's summarize the journey we just took.
Well, we started with a massive DEA lockdown that forced our characters into isolation. We moved through a near-miss underground, a shattering revelation about Gus, and a terrifying showdown in Walt's living room. And we ended with a failed car bomb that leaves everything hanging by a thread.
The key takeaway from all our sources today is that this episode serves as the ultimate pressure cooker. It masterfully reunites Walt and Jesse through shared trauma and a common enemy, completely resetting the board and setting the stage for the explosive finale to come.
And it does so by pushing every character to their absolute psychological limit.
Exactly. So, to wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over. We spent so much time analyzing Walter White's undeniable genius. He is the scientist. He relies on chemistry, logic, and meticulous planning. But look at Gus Fring in that parking lot.
The man who walked away.
Right. In a world defined by science and chemistry, how much does gut instinct actually dictate survival? Gus walked away for that car, not because of hard evidence, but because of a feeling. What does that say about the fundamental difference between him and Walter? If a hunch can defeat a perfectly engineered bomb, does logic even matter in the end times?
That is the ultimate question moving forward. Survival versus intelligence.
Something for you to explore on your own. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into end times.
It has been a fantastic discussion.
We will see you next time. Keep analyzing, and maybe double check your cigarettes.